Hey guys, we are on 5 out of 7 rounds here at the SoCal Midseason Showdown. I'm still Regina. I actually got a little cold, so I put on a jacket. Persona 5 jacket for anybody interested. But we've got for you, hopefully, an exciting round. We've got Alicia versus Kevin Castillo. So very excited. For those of you who would recognize her, Alicia's been around for a while, so might be familiar with her playstyle. And we actually have on your left side Kevin with that Dragapult, Togekiss, Pelipper, Ludicolo, Bronzong, and Rhyperior. So Pokemon that we are all very familiar with. And on your right side, Hitmontop actually with Excadrill, Whimsicott, Rotom Wash, Charizard, and we have Tyranitar as well to round off this team. So Pokemon that we are all very familiar with, having seen not just in this tournament but in tournaments past. Ludicolo and Pelipper, obviously a very nice pair together. You've got the Drizzle, the Swift Swim, all working together to give Ludicolo that sort of boost in speed to get that attack as fast as possible. Bronzong and Rhyperior just kind of going together for this entire tournament so far. We've seen the Ally Switch, the Trick Rooms, alongside the weakness policy of Rhyperior, and Alicia's side, Hitmontop is actually the interesting choice here, right? Hitmontop was a really nice Intimidator fake out in its heyday, which would have been around 2016 and 2015. I'm going to hazard a guess on that one, but not quite as much here. I mean, Charizard, we've also seen kind of like a little bit of a peak and a spike from the Life Orb with the solar power when you Dynamax. It is really nice. Not a lot of Gigantamax Charizard running around because Blaze doesn't really benefit you as much as something else like there. So nice change in background here. We're actually on the Battle Tower instead of the gyms here. And we've got Whimsicott and Charizard as a lead of choice here from Alicia, and Dragapult and Togekiss from Kevin. So we have a Tailwind setter on Alicia's side with that Prankster ability from Whimsicott. And I have a chance to Dynamax with Charizard, go for the heavy attacks in terms of max like Flare and the Life Orb power as well. Bring in the Sun and get that solar power boost later on. Dragapult, also kind of an interesting choice here as well because you don't really see it a lot paired with Togekiss. Dragapult could go for the Dynamax as well. Again, you see it usually with Max Phantasm. Togekiss, the one that we usually see Dynamax the most, but usually when it's paired with a Pokemon that can go for attack, you'll go for the Follow Me, so that way your Togekiss can draw in the attacks, and Dragapult or whatever Pokemon you have next week can go for any sort of attacking moves later on. We are going to see Dynamax from the get-go. I think it's been very rare so far in these rounds that we've seen on stream, or at least for people to not Dynamax turn 1. And it's going to be that Dragapult for Kevin for his choice of Dynamaxing. And if we don't see one from Alicia, then we'll know at least that Dragapult is potentially going to be the fastest thing here on the field, as we've got instead Alicia is actually going to Dynamax as well, so Dragapult is actually going to be a little bit faster here, as Charizard is going to go for the Dynamax afterwards here, but at the end of 3 turns, both of these Pokemon will either be fainted or non-Dynamax. So we are going to see just a regular Dynamax Charizard, which will indicate to us that it's most likely solar powered, because you want that extra sort of like punch to your attacks for later on, as Whimsicott goes for that Tailwind. Whimsicott doing what it kind of does best, setting up Tailwind with that Prankster ability to its benefit. Max Airstream is actually going to be the move of choice here from Alicia, so it's going to be faster than the Dragapult instead, so I'm sorry for misspeaking about that one, but we are going to get a +1 speed on top of the Tailwind here for both Charizard and Whimsicott. We see the Life Orb damage as well because of that HP loss as Max Phantasm going into that Charizard. Going to do some considerable damage there, gets it to a little bit under half HP here for Charizard, and it is going to cause the defense to fall for both Charizard and Whimsicott as the sort of secondary effect here, and also a Life Orb. But Togekiss going for the Yawn here, a kind of a staple now that we're seeing for utilities on Togekiss. So at the end of next turn, Alicia's Charizard will be put to sleep, so she'll have to make that choice of letting it go down or letting it go to sleep on this turn. So Togekiss kind of showing its role as a support Pokemon in this instance at least, because we have seen it go for Dynamaxes before on other teams, but in this case you have your heavy attackers, both Dragapult and Charizard Dynamaxing and going for just straight damage, whereas Whimsicott and Togekiss are helping support both of the Pokemon here. And I think Whimsicott is now in a position where it's able to either go for something like a Moonblast into Dragapult or go for like Taunt or something else to stop Togekiss from going for more utility, right? We saw Taunt on Shantae's Whimsicott earlier to stop a Magic Room from going up. And Taunt is one of those things that I think after a while people kind of forget about its use and then just bring it back later on. But Alicia is actually going to make the choice to end her Dynamax turns early and doesn't want her Charizard to go to sleep, so is going to switch out her Pokemon here and has no more Dynamaxing for later on, but is going to bring in the Tyranitar, change the weather to sand instead of a sun that would have benefited a solar powered Charizard later on. And that Sandstorm is going to hurt all the Pokemon here except for the Rock and Ground. Ooh. But Togekiss going for that follow me, showing some more utility here as it draws in the Whimsicott's Moonblast. So not going to go into possibly that Dark Pulse, which would have been the intended target here, as Max Phantasm is going to instead attack the Whimsicott. Interestingly enough, the Whimsicott is actually just going to straight faint. There is no proccing of any sort of Focus Sash, which is what usually Whimsicott will be carrying. But Dragapult is going to take a little bit of damage from that Sandstorm on this turn instead of taking damage from the Moonblast from earlier. Alicia in a position now to bring it out of her last Pokemon, which could be that extra drill actually in the back, because Sandrush will allow you to double your speed and give you that extra boost on top of the Tailwind, but instead going to be that Rotom. So the last Pokemon here for Alicia is that Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash, kind of known for a little bit more support, usually running things like Thunderbolt, Will-O-Wisp, Hydro Pump, and Protect, so could be running that set right now. But at least it's going to be able to deal some damage in terms of either Thunderbolt or for Hydro Pumps if it's able to connect those. And we see Rotom going for this Thunderbolt instead, does connect with the Togekiss. No Follow Me, doesn't quite pick up the knockout, unfortunately though, as Togekiss does manage to hold on with about 6 HP left, and Rotom is going to take a max 1-1 for its, it's going to take a max 1-1 for its troubles here, and is going to get the attack drop from that, which won't be as bad because Rotom usually isn't a physical attacker, but could hurt that Tyranitar just a little bit, as Rotom does eat its Citrus Berry and gains a little back of health that it just lost. But Tyranitar managing to connect with both Dragapult and Togekiss. Finally picks up the knockout here on Togekiss and does a little bit more damage onto Dragapult, however, not as much as it could have thanks to those max Warmwinds lowering the attack of Tyranitar. Dragapult now officially in the red thanks to that extra damage from Sandstorm. So Alicia not quite out of it yet, but Rotom not looking as healthy as it did at the beginning of this turn, as Pelipper comes in, rewrites that Sandstorm, and now we've got a Drizzle coming in, kind of maybe indicating that there's a Ludicolo in the back because of that weather choice. Dragapult ending its Dynamax turns now. So just going to do regular damage, no more attack decreasing moves through Max Whirlwind into either Tyranitar or Rotom. And we are going to see, like, Alicia I think is in a little bit of a tough spot here. She can't exactly bring in her Charizard that's in the back because it's not going to really like this weather choice at all. I mean, Pelipper is going to be at full health right now, has kind of free reign of being able to attack. We will have to be careful of any rock slides though. Pelipper in some formats past has like had Focus Sash on it, so it stays around for a little bit. Most likely carrying Hurricane because it'll benefit from having the rain up thanks to Drizzle, and Hurricane will be able to hit a little bit better than it would outside of any sort of rain, and also has a chance of confusion as well. So Kevin, despite his Dragapult still taking a lot of heavy damage and his Togekiss going down, is in a little bit of a better spot here, as like that Pelipper is able to set up that rain, and he's gonna show us that Ludicolo, which hadn't been there before, and that Ludicolo is going to be fantastic here because of that. Ooh, yeah, comes in dodges that Hydro Pump and does take a Rock Slide for its troubles. However, Tailwind now from Pelipper being set up gives Kevin that chance to be a little bit faster, as Tailwind on Alicia's side of the field does expire. So Kevin able to kind of take advantage of when these Tailwind turns in, and also guaranteeing that no matter what happens, at least his Ludicolo is going to be faster, because Swift Swim will activate now, but if in case that the weather had never gotten rewritten, at least Ludicolo would be fast because of the Tailwind that it was benefiting. So could have been in the yellow because of Hydro Pump, of taking that Hydro Pump when it comes in, but because of that miss is only taking Rock Slide damage, and now both Ludicolo and Pelipper are going to have the benefit of being faster than Rotom and Tyranitar thanks to that Tailwind that Pelipper was able to set up. Tyranitar still surprisingly hasn't taken any damage for how many turns it's been sitting out on the field, and that's going to change now that we have two water type Pokemon on the field in front of it, and Tyranitar is not going to appreciate that, and I take all of that back because Charizard's going to take that instead. Charizard, which was already taking a lot of damage from earlier on, but Rotom going behind to protect, so going to stick around for another turn or two here as Ludicolo goes for the Muddy Water, is not going to connect with that Rotom. Might have a chance to miss the Charizard. Yep, there we go. The Charizard avoids the attack here, as Pelipper actually instead just goes for the Scald, so doubles down into it. So Charizard dodges Muddy Water, but does take a Scald for its troubles for coming in here, and Tyranitar going to come back in. However, Tyranitar is going to be able to reset that weather, but like I said, because Kevin had managed to set up that Tailwind from earlier on, is still going to have a little bit of that speed advantage, despite Ludicolo losing that Swift Swim speed boost. So gonna take residual damage as well, unless Pelipper gets switched out for Dragapult, and we have sort of that weather war again, where Pelipper will switch out and come back and reset the weather, and Alicia won't be able to do anything about it this time because her Tyranitar and her Rotom are the last 2 Pokemon she has out on the field. So I think Kevin has a little bit more flexibility in terms of options here, but instead he's going to go for the Muddy Water as Tyranitar avoids it again, and Rotom is going to take the hit, might get an accuracy drop as well, which is what you're kind of looking for when it comes to Muddy Water. Yep, and there's the accuracy drops here, so -1, which is going to hurt things like Hydro Pump just a little bit, but Pelipper goes for the Scald onto Tyranitar. Could also pick up a burn if... I think that's a weakness policy Tyranitar. Yeah, a +2 to its attack here and a special attack, so a little bit more important on the regular attack. Pelipper avoiding that Thunderbolt though, gonna really hurt after. Oh, that Pelipper is just really good with that evasiveness. Manages to dodge a double hit here, but Ludicolo goes down thanks to that +2 Rock Slide. Pelipper's still gonna take a little bit of damage from the Sandstorm, and now we're in a spot where Dragapult, who was not at the best HP from before, is going to come back out onto the field. And you still have Pelipper, who, yeah, you guys both have Tailwind, but that Tyranitar is going to do a lot of damage to you if you don't take care of it right now, right? So you could actually go for a Protect if you have it on Tyranitar, and you can just stall out this last turn of Tailwind. You can go for an attack with Rotom, or honestly, I think if you are able to at least get the Dragapult out of the way, you might be in a spot where your Tyranitar can take at least 1 more Scald from the Pelipper on the turn after. So take out the Dragapult, and I think Alicia will have that game for sure. Dragapult is a little bit more threatening because it has the chances to deal a little bit higher damage. Pelipper's Scald won't be doing as much. Yes, you can get the burn, but when you have something like Rock Slide and connecting it, you don't have to worry about it as much here. Rotom going for a Protect on this turn is going to hide behind that shield 1 more time, and we are actually going to see Tyranitar as well. So going to stall out that last turn of Tailwind and make sure that it doesn't get any sort of damage for either side, as we see Dragon Claw coming from this Dragapult and Scald going into the Tyranitar. So also kind of figuring out some more information, and a little bit of damage from Sandstorm always helps. So Tailwind not actually, oh there we are, so Tailwind does expire on this turn as well, and Tyranitar is in a pretty place to just click Rock Slide, and Rotom can go. Rotom is going to be a little bit trickier just because you have that -1 accuracy, so Thunderbolt is probably the best choice here, as Dragapult is going to be a little bit faster, so it goes for the Dragon Claw into Rotom. We'll pick up the knockout here, but if Tyranitar can connect with both Rock Slide, then we're okay here, as Pelipper goes for the Scald. If it gets a crit or a burn, it might, crit would have been better for that one, but Rock Slide is going to connect with both Pokemon, giving game 1 to Alicia here, as both Pokemon on Kevin's side are taken out. So that was actually pretty touch and go on either side for a little bit. That Charizard getting yawned at and then having to take a couple of damage kind of really hurt Alicia, because she was forced to make a choice between keeping Charizard in or switching it out. And I think switching out Charizard and losing those 2 turns of Dynamax actually helped her out in the end, because she was able to bring in that Charizard to take the fall for the Tyranitar that would eventually win her the game. Whereas some of the points that Kevin had that were really nice, he was able to get his Tailwind up right around the same time that Alicia's had ended, and understood that, hey, there's a chance that I can lose my my range, so what I'll end up doing is I'll just set up my Tailwind just in case, because I can't rely just on Swift Swim. So I think his pivoting of his Pokemon was also really nicely done. But Alicia understanding, and when you look at the turns on your menu, saying, hey, here's how many turns of this specific thing you have left, and being able to use that to your advantage, and being able to say, I'm just going to double protect, because if I double protect, double protect, then what happens is, hey, I can stall out Tailwind and it won't matter, because he can't do anything, and all I have to do is survive. Especially when you look at the damage output that that Pelipper was doing to the Tyranitar, which wasn't that much. Even a burn wouldn't have been able to stop Rock Slide from knocking out. So I think if you're looking at Kevin's side, there's no harm in trying to set up something like Trick Room, because Alicia's only form of speed control that we can actually see right now is that Whimsicott and that Tailwind. So if you manage to set up Trick Room, then you're putting Alicia in a place where she has to play around that as well. And the hard part about Trick Room, though, is when you set something like that up, you have to make the most out of every single one of your turns, because if you're ever putting yourself in a position where you have to protect both your Pokemon and burn a turn like that, then you're making it easier for your opponent, or in this case Alicia, to be able to take back control of the match and of that momentum. So if you're Kevin in this moment and you're thinking, okay, Tailwind probably didn't help me out as much as it should have, let me try Trick Room on this game, I think keeping in mind that Trick Room is beneficial only when you're able to attack at least every turn, or in case you have that weakness policy on Rhyperior, that hey, every turn that I have Rhyperior after, it needs to be doing some pretty heavy damage. And I think Alicia can also understand that, right? Like you don't run something like a Whimsicott Tailwind without some sort of answer to Trick Room, and figure out how to like navigate your way around that. If you can always try to deny Trick Room, then it's possible, right? You can have a Whimsicott that might have taunt, and we've only seen one so far, but it's a move that becomes more and more staple as like the season goes on, I would think. So instead, we're actually going to have the same lead from both trainers here, as we have both Whimsicott and Charizard one more time from Alicia, and Dragapult and Togekiss from Kevin again. And we saw that Togekiss's yawn is kind of what stopped Alicia in her tracks last game with that Charizard from getting any more mileage out of its Dynamax turns. And I think if you ever had taunt on Whimsicott today, right now would be the best time to show that, because you could taunt and then Tailwind next turn. And Togekiss can't do anything about it because it won't be able to follow me, it won't be able to yawn, it won't be able to do any of the things that aren't attacking. And Dragapult being able to go for Max Wormwind and lower the attack of your Pokemon is going to be really hard to contend with, because especially if you have something like Tyranitar in the back, who, if you get hit by that, you're in a lot of trouble because your damage output isn't going to be as heavy as it should be and isn't as pressuring as you can be with a team like that. And instead, what we're going to see here is another turn 1 Dynamax from Kevin's side, and that is going to be the Dragapult. Most likely because Dragapult is going to be able to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of the attack power that it can have. And so far, we've only really seen this Togekiss be a supporter as opposed to having being more attack heavy or attack oriented than we have other Togekisses. So Dragapult here, again, going for actually a Max Guard and no Dynamaxing from Alicia on this turn. Whimsicott going for a Tailwind once more is going to set Alicia up to be faster than the opposing Pokemon. Heat Wave is actually going to be the move of choice. Does not actually connect with Dragapult thanks to that Protect. Oh, and Togekiss avoiding the attack, as Togekiss goes for Yawn once more time into this Charizard, but unlike before, Alicia does not have to worry about ending Dynamax turns early because she chose not to this time. Probably assuming that Kevin was going to go for the Yawn one more time and didn't want to risk having to do what she did in Game 1, because that ended up coming into some pretty close calls where your Pokemon had to avoid specific moves here. I think we might actually just see another switch out from Charizard. There we go, and another switch in back into Tyranitar, just because it's a little bit easier for Alicia to set control of the weather that way. And now she's in the spot where she can bring up Sandstream, and she can have a little bit of a heavier attacker. Rock Slide will hurt both Pokemon, and you don't have to worry about Follow Me. And I am sorry, that is a Dynamax Whimsicott, because that is Alicia's trainer right there going for a Dynamax on this turn, and Whimsicott is the only Pokemon who has not switched out. So that is a Whimsicott that is Dynamax, which is not something I think you see very often, because Whimsicott, again, is more supportive than it is anything else. But having access to something like maybe Max Starfall right now, yep, there we go, as from a Moonblast is going to go super effective damage into that Dragapult. Does almost enough damage to get it into the red. It does bring up Misty Terrain, which would have been nice a turn or two ago. Sorry, it wouldn't have mattered for Charizard because Charizard is like flying, so it won't hurt as much. Max Steel Spike, though, going into that Whimsicott won't knock it out like it did last time. We did see it go from like full HP to about 0, like in a heartbeat on that from Max Steel Spike. Get a defense boost for both of your Pokemon, which is nice in the case of Tyranitar being out on the field. Togekiss going for Yawn. It will not work this. It shouldn't work this time because of the fact that we have Misty Terrain out on the field. So Tyranitar won't actually have to go to sleep. So I think Alicia was thinking ahead, like, hey, you can try the strategy again, but Misty Terrain prevents any sort of those status effects from ever really happening. Your Whimsicott, because of Tailwind, should be able to get another attack onto the Dragapult. Dragapult is either going to be forced to Max Guard or take the hit. Either way, whatever's going to happen here is like that Dragapult is going to have to worry about that. But Togekiss instead goes for the Follow Me here. Is going to draw the attention of something like that Max Starfall from Whimsicott as it goes for that move one more time here, and is going to do some damage into that Togekiss, not as much as it could have into that Dragapult, and pick up the knockout as Max Steel Spike connects with the Whimsicott here, picks up that knockout there, and Alicia will be down one Pokemon, and does lose her Whimsicott for these troubles, but at least is in a position to bring in a different Pokemon from the back, and both Whimsicott and Dragapult are at +2 defense now, as once more, Alicia's Dynamax turns are ended a little bit earlier, this time by fainting as opposed to anything else. Dragapult avoiding the attack. these Pokemon do not like to get hit by Rock Slide here, as both Dragapult and Togekiss are going to take a little bit more damage from that Rock Slide. And again, we are not going to see Tyranitar go to sleep this turn because Misty Terrain is up, so that Yawn is not going to do anything at all. That's rendered that sort of move kind of useless right now, but we have Rotom one more time, and Rotom, because of Levitate, if it does get Yawn, will be affected in this case. But Dragapult finally ending its Dynamax turns. However, Kevin still has his 2 Pokemon out on the field, and that HP reduction from the ending of Dynamax turns might hurt a little bit. Tyranitar, though, in a fantastic spot to go for that to go for that Rock Slide one more time and hopefully knock out both of these Pokemon. So I think Kevin's feeling the pressure just a little bit here as Togekiss goes for the Follow Me. One more time, I'm going to draw the attacks here. Rotom, we know, is going to be a little bit faster than that Tyranitar, and is going to go for the Thunderbolt. So would have picked up a knockout from whatever Pokemon it hit. Instead, it's just going to pick up the knockout here on this Togekiss, and it will only take possibly Sandstorm damage depending on what Dragapult does. And it goes for a Phantom Force, so will avoid any attacks on this turn. So a nice way for Kevin to be like, you know what? I want my Dragapult to stay around for just a little bit longer, as Tyranitar goes for the crunch and bites nothing but air, and Dragapult still will take a little bit of damage from the Sandstorm, but whatever attack it has last is mostly going to knock it out thanks to the Life Orb and the fact that it's going to go Phantom Force, but then it's going to get hit by something. But Ludicolo is in a good spot right now, right? You can go for the Fake Out onto either Pokemon. You can go for a Protect to make sure that on the next turn when Pelipper comes in that you have like everything already set up for yourself. But I think you can go for the Fake Out here on either, I think on Rotom most likely, just because you don't really want Rotom to go for the free Thunderbolt into you, and you want to do some damage into Tyranitar. But Tyranitar will be a little bit useless after you bring in that Pelipper to try to take care of some of these attacks. So you still have to be careful because Tyranitar does have a weakness policy that hasn't been activated in this game at least, but Phantom Protect for Rotom is going to make sure it doesn't get faked out, but Phantom Force might still hit it, as Ludicolo actually goes instead for the Tyranitar as the Pokemon of choice for the Fake Out, and Phantom Force from Dragapult is going to go into the Rotom. Phantom Force, again, not it was like it ignores Protect because of the fact that that's what it's meant to do, and as its last move will faint after hitting that Rotom for half its health. But Rotom is going to take that time to be like, you know, you hit me, you stabbed me in the back, but I've got my berry now. As Ludicolo is going to take a little bit of damage from that Sandstorm, and so does Rotom, but Pelipper is in a really nice spot now to just come in and help support its friend either with a Tailwind or, like we saw before, with something like the Drizzle and the Swift Sim. But Alicia still has her Charizard in the back, could do switching out a little bit, right? She could do what we had seen last time where you switch out the Tyranitar for the Charizard, allow the Charizard to go down, and then bring in Tyranitar again to reset the weather. However, that means that spot, no matter what, will always be weak to Water-type Pokemon, which is something you do have to watch out for. But Tyranitar, which took only Fake Out damage so far, is going to be switched out for Charizard. Still has its weakness policy in its hand. And we have Ludicolo going for Leaf Storm. Instead, is going to go into that Rotom and pick up the knockout very easily on that Rotom. Does take a special attack drop of 2 for its troubles there, but does get rid of that Rotom, which was a pain in the butt for that Pelipper and that Ludicolo earlier. Tailwind for Pelipper is being set up almost easily, but Charizard was able to come in pretty freely in that moment and not have to worry about taking any sort of damage in terms of water type damage. Yes, Rotom went down, but now you have Tyranitar, who's able to bring back that weather that it had from before, and now you've got Ludicolo not able to really benefit from the Swift Swim, but Tailwind has been set up for Kevin, so we're almost in sort of a mirror from before, but Charizard and Tyranitar are 2 Pokemon that are a little bit better to have on the field because they are scarier and they're a little bit stronger in terms of able to in terms of their damage output. Ludicolo going for the Muddy Water does not hit the Charizard, but and it also connects with that Tyranitar. I was going to say had a chance to possibly miss on Tyranitar. Will activate its weakness policy though because that's a water type move. Will do +2 to special attack. If that Scald doesn't do anything like burn it, then she is definitely in a good spot here. But Scald is going to double down into that into that Tyranitar. No burn as he did get the burn here. So gonna hurt that attack just a little bit. Ooh, Ludicolo avoiding the attack will connect with the Pelipper, but missing out on Ludicolo is a pretty big thing. Ooh, and Pelipper hanging on only for this moment as it will get knocked out by sorry, by that Sandstorm damage. And Charizard and Tyranitar are in pretty okay spots right now. Charizard, if you've got something like, I want to say Air Slash for most max Airstream moves, which should be able to do some considerable damage to Ludicolo. Tyranitar, sure, it's burned, but you are going to be able to at least maybe try to stall out a couple turns. Any damage you can get onto Ludicolo is going to be really nice, because Ludicolo is going to have to... Ludicolo can go for something like Muddy Water again, which it will go for here, and it does connect with both Pokemon. If Charizard can hang on, yep, and Charizard and Tyranitar are able to hold on, so it's just a matter of what's going to happen here, as Air Slash is going to connect, no accuracy drop, so Ludicolo going to take super effective damage, does not survive that Air Slash, which gives game 2 and the round to Alicia. But, I mean, honestly, if you're Kevin, you play that in the best way you could, right? You did your best to set yourself up multiple times. You had the Tailwind set up, you had the Drizzle set up for the Swift Swim, and it just so happened that Alicia was able to at least like switch out things that happen, right? And in game 2, Alicia having the foresight to kind of be like, I need to set up Misty Terrain because Togekiss is using Yawn and I don't want my Pokemon to sleep and be forced out to switch out and either take the Yawn turns or to take damage, right? And I think that was a really good thing in game 2 because it allowed her Tyranitar to stay out for a couple of turns. So the Muddy Water misses were unfortunate, but having Charizard and Tyranitar as your last 2 Pokemon at the end game, those are not Pokemon you really want to face because they're kind of terrifying. So good games to both of them. They finished round 5, so we're on to 6 out of 7 in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. You can come join me back here while I'm casting, but I'll see you guys in round 6. All right, we'll see how else everybody is doing. So see you guys.